Hi everyone, and welcome to the first episode of our podcast, Multi-Lingual Zone. I'm so excited to be here with you. My name is Kim, and I'll be your host on this podcast. I'm from Mexico City, specifically from the Metropolitan Area, which is the State of Mexico. I speak Spanish, English, I'm learning basic French, basic Italian, and also I'm learning Nahuatl and Maya, being these last two native languages from native people of Mexico, which I'm really passionate about. This channel and podcast arises from a conversation between friends from all over the world who met on different digital platforms, sharing the joy of learning and exchanging languages. This being a space to talk about various topics through the formulation of specific questions, where our honorable guests have the opportunity to delve deeper into different topics in their native language and in English in order to reach the entire world and continue creating deep and meaningful connections around the world. Communication being the main human factor to be able to connect without any barrier or exclusion of any kind. Thank you all for following us. Welcome to Multilingual Zone. We'll be trying to publish the videos and podcasts constantly. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, comment, share it. We will soon be on Spotify, and also follow us on Instagram as at multilingualzonebykla. All lower cases at multilingualzonebykla. If you want to participate in the podcast, type us a comment and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Today we have the honor to have an amazing guest and friend of mine whose name is Romeo, aka Romy, a great friend that I met at work and with whom I have shared very beautiful experiences and who has always been there for me and helped me get rid of my fear of speaking English. We have always been very funny, and every time I talk to him, we laugh a lot. This time, I'm very excited to have my friend here in the first edition of our podcast, since he has a great experience in learning languages and has traveled a lot. Well, without further ado, let's go with Romeo.
Hello, Kim. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you for this honor and the opportunity to converse with you and your audience about this amazing topic, foreign languages. I am Romy, and I am a self-proclaimed language enthusiast. I speak Spanish as a first language, and I'm fluent in English. I consider English to be my second language. I consider myself having a near native fluency and mastering of the language. I have foreign accent, which I do not mind. Languages always come with accents, and even people who speak the same language as a native language have different accents. So I'm a big proponent that accents have no influence and do not matter when speaking a language, because everyone has an accent. My first recollection ever of coming in contact with a foreign language was when I was a little kid. My grandma used to read romance novels, and one time I remember I grabbed one of them and I was going through the pages and I saw these strange words that I didn't know what they meant, and I saw these words that had this very weird spelling, right? There were double consonants, all the words ended in vowels, and when I asked my grandma what that was, she said, "Oh, it's Italian." And then she told me what they meant. She told me the Spanish language translation. That piqued my interest because, as I learned later, Italian uses double consonants. All of the Italian words end in a vowel, and that's whether they're plural or they're singular. Only foreign words may be a little different to that rule, which is totally different than per se, words in plurals in Spanish or even in English, where we use the letter S to pluralize the words. So to answer your first question, how I started learning languages, after that episode, I went to the public library, then I went to the library in my school, and I immediately searched for language learning materials. I borrowed everything I could get my hands on, from books and manuals and tourist guides to audio cassettes to CDs, videotapes, everything I could get my hands on that would help me learn words in different languages. More specifically, in this case, Italian, because that was my first interest at that point. Later on in school, I started learning English and using audio-visual materials as well in class and outside of class. That was back in the days when the internet was in its early days, in its infancy. And once I discovered that through the internet you can also listen to radio stations from around the world, I thought, wow, that's amazing, because I can hear people speak in real time, and I can hear people speak like they normally do. So I started listening to radio stations. That was a huge help, because it did help with one of the important aspects of a new language, which is listening, and that helps you comprehension. And I was able to listen to native speakers from around the world speak their language. That helped immensely. There are three big components to learning a language, which is the oral practice, you speak, the comprehension, which is reading and listening, and one more time, speaking. I don't like to mention writing that much, because writing these days is a different challenge in any language, given the abundance of platforms out there where people, use now alternative spellings for words and acronyms, etc. But one of the tips that I would definitely encourage people to pick up on is listening. Listen to the TV. If you're watching a movie in a foreign language that you're learning, I would recommend that you see that movie once with subtitles, but subtitles in the language of the movie. So if your movie is in English, listen to the movie with English language subtitles. Try to break up the words and identify where each word ends and the next one begins. That helps with the audio and the listening skills. By seeing and watching that movie with your subtitles, you're also practicing your reading, and you become more familiar with the rhythm at which people speak, which can later on help you with your own speaking. And to answer the second question, tips to improve your speaking, I certainly recommend surrounding yourself by people who are speakers of that language, and do not hesitate to speak. You are never going to be perfect at the beginning. It's going to take some time, so do not be shy. Don't stop yourself. People who are learning languages, we all know that at the beginning you're going to make mistakes. You're going to mispronounce words. You're going to forget words. You have to get your ideas clear. And practice is the only thing that will get you to master the language and get to a level where you want to be. So don't be afraid and just speak. The biggest thing that will come later on from listening and speaking the language is that soon, before you even realize it, you're also going to start thinking in that language. And once you start thinking in that language, you don't have to translate. You will be able to formulate your own thoughts using that new language that you've just learned. And so those are my tips. That's what I can share at the moment. Just practice. Do not be shy. Thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure being part of this conversation today. Thank you so much, and good luck to everyone out there learning a language. Just don't be shy and keep on going. Success comes with practice.
Wow, that was excellent, Romy. Thank you very much for sharing your tips and your experiences since you were a child with your granny, and of course, since you began with your journey in learning languages, my friend. I love you very much, Romy, and I really hope that in the future you'll return to us with another topic in this podcast. Thank you very much to everyone who listened to us in this first edition of Multilingual Zone. We'll be waiting for you in the next one. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this podcast with all language lovers around the world that you know. Thank you for tuning in. Greetings and see you next time.